Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. And I had a video of Big Trouble in Little China up. But it was one of those things where this video camera, when I do a video, if it gets up to 33 minutes, it'll cut to another 33 minutes in batches. Well, the second batch had like a minute left. It was so tiny that I had the first one, but the second one didn't get added, and then by the time I realized it was deleted. So instead of having a video where the ending got cut off, I figured I'll just make a new one, but I'll do something different. And this was a paid request from Movie Guide 2005. I figured it's the least I could do since he's sent in so many requests, been very kind. Let me have a video that's finished, and then also let me do something a bit different. So instead of just doing a movie review, why don't I do kind of a list? And people say, top 10, top whatever. How about top 5? The top 5 favorite things for me on Big Trouble in Little China. Just again, do something a little bit different since I'm doing this again because my damn thing cut me off. And if anyone wants to request any type of videos, movie reviews, reviews, random thoughts, streams, commentaries, video game playthrough for an hour, full playthrough, whatever the case may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal. I do have a CashApp as well. Links are down below, and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. Now, I talked about this before, but since that video is now gone, Big Trouble in Little China is one of those films that anytime I watch it, I get this weird feeling, and I know it sounds stupid and silly, but I get sad when it's over. I get sad when the credits start because Big Trouble in Little China is one of those films where I just enjoyed the world that enraptures the film so much. I enjoyed the characters so much that I wanted to see more. I wanted to see more sequels. I wanted to see more stuff. And that's, I think, what I was trying to get at the end of that video is I know there are comic books. They're not the same. I always would like to have seen a sequel. Now it's too late. I don't want to see a remake. I know The Rock at one point wanted to do a remake. No, it would not have the same magic. This was a film that was another big studio film for John Carpenter, just like The Thing, but sadly, just like The Thing, the film bombed. Whether because people wanted more of a Rambo film, or they wanted more of an Indiana Jones film, or they wanted something else entirely. I can't really tell you as to why it bombed, why it didn't do well. Aliens, I know, came out around the same time. Maybe that didn't help. Kurt Russell at this point wasn't a bankable star. He's great. I love Kurt Russell. But again, he wasn't a huge bankable star a la like Mel Gibson became after Lethal Weapon. And then Tequila's Sunrise was a hit, even though no one... Who the fuck remembers Tequila's Sunrise? I think that film sucks. I think it's shitty. But it was a hit. Why, say, why was that a hit, but this was a flop? Doesn't make sense. I've never heard a single fucking person talk about Tequila's Sunrise. But I hear everybody talk about this movie. And I mentioned that film that had Mel Gibson and Kurt Russell. This was a film written by W.D. Richter, who same guy that made Buckaroo Banzai, but he didn't direct this one. Originally supposed to be a western, but he changed it to modern time. I thought for the benefit of the story, because in the original story it was about the guy's horse being stolen. Here's the truck. But it's more about just how you have this regular guy who's got a bit of a John Wayne drawl that gets pulled into this fantastical story. And it kind of starts off real at first, and then as the movie goes on, we enter more and more into the realm of fantasy. And it's one of the many things I like about this film. But the top 5 things: number 1, the characters and the cast. The characters and the cast are so good in this film. Jack Burton is perhaps my favorite Kurt Russell role. I love him in Tango and Cash. I love him as Snake Plissken in Escape from New York. Breakdown is a good one. Tombstone, but this character, just how he reacts to certain situations, how funny it is, how he's like a real guy. You can definitely tell characters like Chris Pratt's Star-Lord, they're definitely inspired by this character in this film. And he's just a very fun character to be around. Dennis Dunn as the sidekick, although technically he is kind of the main hero of the film. Dennis Dunn always liked him in Prince of Darkness, and sadly he hasn't done a whole lot of stuff in recent years, but I thought he was always a great co-star to Caruso. I thought they worked very well together. Kim Cattrall is the fast-talking lady. She worked well for her role. I thought she worked and had good chemistry with Caruso. James Hahn as Lopan. Victor Wan as A. Chin. Classic character actors, in my opinion. Victor Wan I've always enjoyed. He was, funny enough, those two I mentioned were in The Golden Child, which John Carpenter was approached to direct, but he instead directed this. Now, this came out in the summer. The Golden Child came out in later years. And I love both. You know, as someone said in the comments in the video that's no longer up, this would be a good double feature. This film, The Golden Child. Great double feature. I love both of them. I will say I do think this film is more popular nowadays than The Golden Child, although The Golden Child at the time was the bigger hit because of Eddie Murphy. This is right after Beverly Hills Cop and such. With that said, I love both of them. Very much so. I mean, The Golden Child is my favorite comedy. Now, Victor Wan, he's the guy that, you know, as a Ninja Turtles fan growing up, I would go, you know what, he would make a good Splinter. You know, that voice and that cadence. And James Hahn is fun and sinister as Lopan, whether with the old man gimmick or the ghostly figure. A lot of the side characters, they work well. The Three Storms, for example, which obviously were inspirations for, say, Raiden in Mortal Kombat. Even the Ninja Turtles, like some of the cartoons, some of them would, the Elite Foot Ninja would wear those kind of hats. The 2012 cartoon pretty much ripped this movie off and even had James Hahn as a type of Lopan character. But a lot of stuff was inspired, and that's the thing, this was ahead of its time, but I'll get to that later. But yeah, the characters and the cast are just so fun, they work well together, they're in sync with each other, with John Carpenter's direction, and the great music, both the score, and I even like the song at the end by the Coupe de Villes, which John Carpenter, I didn't know for the longest time John Carpenter sang that song, and I know he gets embarrassed by it, but I think it's a very fun song. It works for this movie. But yeah, the characters and cast is number one. Number two, the movie structure. What I mean by that is the idea of, like, Kurt Russell, he is the lead. He does show courage, he does try, he does help. But for a good chunk, he does, like, he is the lead, he has, you know, a lot of the great lines. But he is kind of the sidekick, like the funny sidekick character. Because Dennis Dunn, it's his woman that gets taken, he knows the environment, he knows the other characters. He's off to save the woman of his life. He knows how to fight. There's a great scene when Caruso loses his knife and goes to get it, and Dennis Dunn kicks everybody's ass, and then Caruso comes in, and Dennis Dunn goes, gotta go. Or at the end of the film when Caruso shoots and he knocks himself the fuck out, and then everybody else is doing the battle. It's a very unique movie structure. Like, what if the hero was kind of doing stuff the sidekick would do, and what if the sidekick was doing stuff the hero would do? But it didn't bop you in the head multiple times. It's one of those things that I didn't notice the first or second time I watched it, but watching it more, I might start to notice that, oh, that's actually kind of cool. But at the same time, Jack Burton gets his big moment with the knife, which is set up, because at the beginning of the film, when he first sees Dennis Dunn, and they have the bet with the bottle, and Dennis Dunn does it, and Kurt Russell catches it. You know, it's all in the reflexes. There's a reason why that scene's in there, so that later on, with the knife, it's all in the reflexes. So, good writing. Setup, payoff. And also with the movie structure, just how it did stuff differently than other films. Like, for example, even at the end, someone goes, Are you not going to kiss her goodbye? Nah. See you around, Jet. Never can tell. Usually in films it'd be the kiss, and I stay with you, you come with me, or just some big kiss. But no, they did something a little bit different. Which again, I appreciate that. So then the movie structure and the uniqueness of it, and that gets it to my number 3, the creativity of the film. Like I say, it starts off a little bit more real, where you have the gang members that kidnap the lady who's Dennis Dunn's love, and they go after them. Then they get in the middle of this gang warfare where they're both in Jack Burton's truck, but then you see these gangs fighting each other. One of them is Al Leon, who is in Die Hard, and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and you have all these other characters fighting each other, going back and forth. And so it starts off, they're using guns, and they're going hand to hand and fisticuffs, and then later on, you have the 3 storms, and okay, that's definitely fantastical. And you have Lopan, that's definitely fantastical. And then by the end of the film, you have Dennis Dunn and the storm Rain flying in the air with sword fights, and Shin and Lopan doing like a sorcery battle with their rings, and it was a cool idea to have kind of the 2 ancient soldiers represent and going back and forth with their swords. And the one guy makes himself blow up because he failed his master. You see more and more of the monsters. And that's the thing, you have the magicians, the sorcery, you have the monsters and the variety of monsters. You got the beast who has hair like a werewolf, but it's not a werewolf. You have the creature with all eyeballs who's kind of watching out for Lopan, and it floats around. You have the monster in one scene when they're going through the sewer, the underground chambers. And I always thought it was the coolest monster, where it comes out, grabs someone, comes back, has these red eyes, and has this face that looks like a HRD. I don't know how else to explain it. I kind of wish that monster was in it more. Maybe they thought it would be less effective, but I always thought it was a cool looking creature. My favorite creature. But hey, maybe that's because it's so quick. Maybe if I stare at it a while, it would lose its effect, but it comes in and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then you never see it again. So I thought that was a very cool looking creature. And the idea of the 3 storms, and like the one guy rides down the lightning like it's like a rope. And cool ideas. It was imaginary. It was creative. Even the stuff with Lopan, where he has his old form, then you have his younger ghost form. So the creativity of it, and it's like kung fu, but it's comedy, but it's sorcery, but there's monsters in it. It has a whole realm of stuff, a real palette of genres to mix and match with. And then that gets into number 4. It's rather funny movie. I said a comedy. It does work. And the dialogue is so memorable and catchy, and there's so many great lines, especially because of the way people like Kurt Russell delivers it, with that kind of, again, John Wayne type of drawl, where he's cocky and he's sure of it, but he's not 100%. Like when he gets the gun and he doesn't know how to shoot it, and like, you ever played someone? Well, you never played someone? No, he says, is this the first time you played someone? Of course not. Well, like, how often do you get that your main hero doesn't know how to shoot a gun, so when he fires it goes all crazy and stuff? That's what I mean. Different, unique. And the dialogue from when Jack Burton's in the truck and all the stuff that he says, Have you paid your dues, Jack? Yes, sir, the check is in the mail. We really shook the pillars of heaven, didn't we, Wayne? No bullshit, no horseshit, Jack. No horseshit. You know what old Jack Burton says at a time like this? Who? Jack Burton, me. Old Jack Burton says, what the hell? Or we're not back by dawn, called the president. I'm a reasonable guy, I've just seen some unreasonable things. Or check into a cycle ward, whichever comes first. Well, I was supposed to buy this shit, 2,000 years, he can't find the right shit, come on, man. It's a lot of very funny moments and lines. Even stuff from Victor Wan and stuff from even some of the stuff Lopan says. There's the funny bit when they take the potion, all the main characters, and then they're in the elevator, and then they're kind of a potion that almost seems like they're high. And he's like, I feel kind of invincible. Is it getting warm in here, or is it just me? So a lot of fun bits of dialogue that also helps with the chemistry, that also helps with just the fun tone and time that you have watching the film. And number 5, the Kung Fu American action. You have to understand, in 1986, how martial arts were in America. I mean, the only martial arts people knew in 1986 were if you got a Hong Kong movie overseas, whether it be like a Bruce Lee film or the Bruce Exploitation films or the films back in the day with the swords and the flying and all that stuff. If you saw those in the theater, grindhouse theater, but there wasn't a whole lot of American martial arts. Maybe Chuck Norris was entering. There's stuff he did, Missing in Action 1 and 2, and then the other stuff. Maybe with Canon Films, Enter the Ninja, American Ninja, then American Ninja 2. Well, I think that came out the year later. You had American Ninja 1, though, and then you had Enter the Ninja. I think Revenge of the Ninja maybe had been out at this point, maybe. But, there wasn't wall-to-wall martial arts stuff. Especially American, I should say. So here's your big-budget American Kung Fu film. It was ahead of its time. Way ahead of its time. Nowadays, you watch this, you just see multiple films. How many films is, superhero films, all this stuff, where people are flying around and doing fights in the air and doing all this other stuff? But you were not seeing it a lot in American movies in 1986. So you have an American director like John Carpenter, you have an American star Kurt Russell, but then you have all these guys able to do all these moves and some fun action. There's the big battle at the end, the one guy that does like the 3 roundhouse kicks in a row, how they do the wire work where you have the people jump in the air and then you have they shot something behind them and they're doing the sword fight. But even when they're on the ground where people are doing flips while the others doing these swords, and even the battle at the beginning, the alleyway, and the gang members going back and forth and getting their hits in. And John Carpenter was able to shoot each piece and not have shaky cam, not have it be confusing, understand the geography where we're at, let them do what they can do. And again, very ahead of its time. This whole movie was ahead of its time, and that's the shame. That's the size of it, Bubba. That's the shame of it, because it was so ahead of its time. People at the time didn't know what to make of it because they had not seen a lot of this stuff before. Unless you're someone that was able to catch those weird Hong Kong movies. Like one I think is called Zoo, ZU, and other stuff. Which the modern mainstream didn't catch those movies. Again, if you're someone that found a grindhouse theater that showed that stuff. Again, nowadays, but even then it's very weird, interesting combination of all these elements and all these genres together. Again, ahead of its time, it was different. It felt unique. And that was a shame. It's a shame. Just like John Carpenter Carpenter's film The Thing. Like, they're both films that are so good and well made. And then when the films came out, they bombed. And I mean, I can see why John Carpenter would be grumpy at times today, because it's like, what more can I do? Now, whether you want to say the marketing was the problem with this film, maybe that was. Maybe they didn't know how to market it, but the trailers were not the best. You watch the trailers, and I don't know, they just something about them. Who is Jack Burton? And people would be like, who gives a fuck? At the time, they might have said that, because Kurt Russell, some people may know him from Steve New York, but Steve New York was a hit, but it wasn't this, $50 million hit or anything. I mean, I wonder if the film was released in the early 90s, if the maybe would have had more of a chance, where by that point more people know about martial arts. Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme, even Jeff Speakman, Mark Dacascos is coming into it, Jeff Wincott, Gary Daniels, these other martial arts guys are coming into the picture thanks to Jean-Claude Van Damme. And like Chuck Norris helped in American martial arts, and then Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme even more so, from 1988 to the early 90s. So I wonder if this came out in that realm where martial arts were more getting known. The Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, definitely a huge phenomenon. I mean, the first film alone made over 130 million or more. So maybe if it came around that era, maybe go, oh, okay, people are more used to it and they're more seeing. Maybe they would understand the film more. I don't know. But yeah, the kung fu action is fun. It's fun to watch. It's a nice choreography. And again, wrapped up with the music, the score. It's a wonderful score from the main theme at the beginning. To again, I think the theme song at the end is catchy and fun and big trouble in little China. I think it's a catchy tune. I don't think John Carpenter should be embarrassed by it. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to do this video again because, number one, I hate that video got cut off, and that annoys me. I have to be more careful of that in the future, because it's the second time it's happened to me, at least. Number two, it's always nice to talk about this film. Number three, to do it for Movie Guide 2005, because I think it's the least I could do. He's been very kind. Thank you, man. And number four, it's just, I love the film so much. I love this movie. It's so much fun. And again, the repeat, for some reason, each time this film ends, it's the same way with the first two Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle films from 1990 and 1991. That and this one. When these three films end, I get sad, because I want to experience more of this world, this environment, these characters. I want to see more of these characters. I want to see more of their adventures. Thankfully, Ninja Turtles got a sequel, so there's that, but this never did. And like I said, I know there are comic books, but they're not the same. They're just not the same at all. It's too late to do a sequel. And yeah, sadly the film bombed. I mean, 1986 was a great year for movies. One of my favorite years. Aliens, The Fly remake, Cobra, Maximum Overdrive, Golden Child, this movie. For me personally, there's so many films this year that I love and adore, and maybe my favorite year for movies because of that. Because there's so many. I think Short Circuit, and there's a lot of cool stuff this year. But anyway, I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I love Jack Burton's outfit, the shirt. I think it's a very unique shirt. I love the gun he has as too, which Thunder bashes. the bit at the end where Thunder sees that his master's been killed, and I guess his former seppuku? I don't know how you want to put it. He literally blows his top. And he gets bigger, and Dennis Dunn's line, I don't think he's going to stop. Makes me laugh every time, and he keeps going like a balloon. And a lot of little stuff too, like when they're escaping from that, and they see lightning, that storm, and they look up, and there's Victor 1. And I asked, how'd you get up there? And the way he said, it wasn't easy. Something about that makes me laugh. I don't know what happens to the other characters who are with Victor Juan, but just we see they're fine when Victor Juan throws this thing and blows everything up. I guess they escaped a different way. But I do think it was weird that they were not with Victor Juan at that point and they just disappeared. Because I always wonder, like, what happened to them? Are they in between? Did they somehow disappear, die? But I'm assuming they escaped. But anyway, the beginning of the film, the very first scene was an additional photography because I guess the studio thought we need the audience to feel that Jack Burton's a hero, so let's have characters talk about him, and that's where Victor Juan has the little sorcery thing. And the guy he's talking to, the lawyer or whatever, I recognize him. He would later be the character Deep Throat on X-Files, this first season of the X-Files. And I think he was in Wanted Dead or Alive with Rutger Hauer. I think he was in that. Sorry about the cat. He's always complaining to go outside, but I'm like, why you want to go outside? It's 100 degrees out, cat. So he's going to have to suffer in the AC. Anyway. I know this got a video game, I think, for Commodore, but I'm actually surprised they haven't tried to make a video game of this movie because of his cult following. I mean, they did a video game on The Thing. They've done on some other... The Warriors. So I am surprised they haven't done, like, to try to do a new video game of this. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I don't think Caruso would do the voice. Oh, another fun bit. The commentary on the film, which I think is where I got cut off in my older video. The commentary on this film is great. Very funny, very hilarious. Usually when him and John Carpenter Caruso commentaries are gold. On a side note, I was going to finish my thought on that old video. I don't understand why Steve from LA, when Stream Factory released the new Blu-ray, why there wasn't a commentary. I would assume Caruso would do it because he did a commentary for Breakdown. He did a commentary for that film. And that was recent times. So if he's willing to do a commentary for Breakdown, I think he would do a commentary with John Carpenter and catch up and talk while talking about Steve from LA. So I don't know why. That's one of the things that just... Like, come on, you did The Thing, it's Steve from New York, in this movie, you gotta do Steve from LA. But apparently that will never happen, so that's a shame. But it is what it is, but... The commentary for this is great. And the Stream Factory release isn't too bad. It was great to have Dennis Dunn be interviewed. Weird that he doesn't talk about Caruso, or they didn't ask him about it, but it's great that Dennis Dunn, these other actors are interviewed. The Three Storms are interviewed. I think sadly one of them has passed away. I don't remember... It was the one who played Ray. I can't remember which one, but sadly one of the Three Storms did pass away. That's too bad. But yeah, so much fun, this movie. I mean, one of my only little nitpicks is I hate that there's a sequel bait ending. Where Jack Burton's driving and there's the monster in the back, because there's no sequel. But, yeah, that's one of the few issues I have. I think the effects worked for its time. They may not be state-of-the-art nowadays, but I think they worked fine considering it was made in 1986. And also, I like the way animation was done back then, where it was animated. I think Lightning animated just looks better than when they CGI the shit. Like, if you compare the two, Lightning animated just looks more aesthetically pleasing to me than the CGI stuff. To me, it just works better. Because usually, I don't know if it was with this one, but usually with Lightning, they do it with animation. But yeah, I don't know why. Like, why does Lightning look better back then than it does nowadays when they do this stuff? Like, nowadays, they do it looks cheaper. That's just me, though. But yeah, with that said, I think that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Take care. Thanks once again for watching this again, for those who did. And we will see you guys down the road. On that darkest stormy night when you got that sucker bash your head just back to the barroom wall. You paid your dues, Jack? Yes, sir, the check is in the mail. Later.